Hey, first grade, what's going on? It's Mr. Hunter. I am happy to see you. Hopefully, you can see me. Everything's clear. You guys know it's math time, so that means we have to have our thinking caps on. We have to be rested up. We have to have some food in our system. We have to be alert because we got a lot to do. You're going to have your worksheet. You're working on pages 221 and 222. Today, we're going to be talking about the value of money and writing the answers. We're going to talk about two-digit addition problems. You know how those are when we're adding two digits and two numbers. We're going to talk about temperatures and thermometer. We're going to do some work, on that. And then also four number addition problems. Those are pretty big, but I think you guys can do it. All right. And then last but not least, we're going to be working on the ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place. All right. Did you guys like those warm-up games we did last time? Yeah? Oh, I want you to stand up and do it one more time, okay? Let's see if we can try it. All right, make sure you got enough room. All right, arms out, arms out. You're determining your left from your right, okay? All right, you ready? Here we go. Left, 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 right, 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 left. Okay, are you in the same spot that you started? You should not be. All right, you can sit down. We're not going to play long today. I have another game. I introduced this to second grade, and so I want to introduce it to my first graders as well. If you guys have what do we call a deck of cards, okay, this is a pretty fun game you can play. You need to play with two people. So if you have a brother or sister that's older, you can play with them. What it's doing is going to teach you some addition skills. You can play with mom and dad as well. You're going to take two cards, okay? All right, so I have a four. You take one off the deck. I have a four, and then I have a six. So those will be my two cards. But what I have to do if I have these two cards, I have to add them together. So I'm going to add the four and the six, and the four and the six together makes 10. So I have 10. The other person that I'm playing against, they have to pick two cards. So that person picks a nine. Ooh. And then the person after, then the next card they pick is an eight. And so when they add up their cards, eight and a nine, that's going to be more than 10. So you know what happens? They would win that round. And they winning that round get to take your cards as well, because you only had 10 and they had 8 plus 9, which is 17. So you take their cards, they're going to take their cards, and they'll take yours as well. And then you know what you do? You go and get two more cards and you add them up. So we're going to go to, that's an ace. You don't have to play with these if you don't want to. You can just do the cards with the numbers because you guys just want to practice counting here. But let's see, we have a 2. So we have a 2, so that's your card. You have a 7, so you have to add up 2 plus 7. And then the other person, you know what they have? Well, this person keeps getting the big cards. They have a 6 and a 7. So you have 2 and a 7. They have 6 and a 7. 2 and a 7 is 9. 7, 6 and a 7 is 13. So again, they would win. They take your cards, and you do that. You do this through the entire deck. It's teaching you how to count, how to really add up, and then see how much they have and see if they're actually adding correctly. And then you know who wins at the end. A really fun game. It's cool. You can play with anybody. Your parents, you can play with your brother and sister, cousins, grandmother, but I want you to try it out. That's a fun game you guys can play. All right. So starting off today, we're going to look at a top of our page on page 221. And it says, uh-oh, Mr. Hunter skipped a very valuable step. Did you guys write your name already? Did you write your name and write the date? Okay, you did? Well, now we're going to look at number 1. It says add to find how many cents. So first, we need to know what we're counting with. We have a quarter. How much is a quarter worth? A quarter is worth 25 cents. You are right. And then we have a dime. How much is a dime worth? A dime is worth 10 cents. So we have 2 quarters. So if you don't know, what you can do is you have 2 quarters. You know the quarter's worth 25. You can add 25 plus 25 there. And I'm going to rewrite that just so it's neater. And so that way you have 5 plus 5 is 10. And then 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. Or if you already know how to count by 25, you can just go 25, 50. All right, so now you know you're starting with 50 cents. Now you have 3 dimes. And how much is a dime worth? It's worth 10. So you have 50 cents plus 3 dimes, and they're going by 10. So you go 10, 20, 30. So if you have 30 plus 50, what are you adding? You're adding the 50 right there, and you're adding the 30. There's nothing in the ones place, so that's going to be 0. And then you have 3 plus 5 is 8. That's going to be 80. Now, do we just write 80? We have the cent sign written for us, But normally, if there wasn't a cent sign, you know what you would have to write? A cent sign, because we're dealing with money. Money, we always have to put the dollar sign or the cent sign. You guys remember that, okay? Now, we're looking at, I'm sorry, I was looking back at the board. I thought I still had something on there. We're gonna look at the next problem. You have different coins. You have a nickel. How much is a nickel worth? Nickel worth 5 cents, right? And then we have 2 pennies. Okay, so everybody recognizes those. So a nickel, so we're gonna count by 5. We're gonna go 5, 10, 15, and then a penny is worth 1. So what are we counting by? Ones. So 15, we add 1 more to 15. So we go 16, and then we go 17. All right, so we put 17 in the square box. But that's not all we have to do, because now we have 80 cents, and they're asking us in this problem to add together 80 and the answer on the bottom, which was 17, and that will give us our final answer. So I want you guys to do that really quickly. If you come up with the right answer, that's good. It should be pretty easy. You're adding 0 plus 7 and then 8 plus 1. So that is your answer for that at the bottom. And then remember, it's going to be cents. It's not quite a dollar, but it's cents. All right. Let's look at number 2, problem number 2. It says set the thermometers. So what does that mean? We have to actually color in. You can choose any crayon or color pencil you like. We have to color in the thermometer based on what the temperature says. So let's look at 78. It says 78 degrees. Remember, if you have a number here and it has that little bubble right there, that's telling you what temperature it is. It's the degree sign. So degrees is determined by that little bubble. 78 degrees. Is that warm or cold? Is that warm enough to get in the pool and go to the beach? I'd say I think it's pretty cool to get in the beach or go to the pool. The beach water is a little bit colder, so I want it to be hotter personally, but you can get in the pool. All right. So let's look. So what do we need to do? Remember, if we're counting on a thermometer, we have the tens that starts at 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, it goes all the way to 100. But in between those tiny little dots, how much are they counting by? They're counting by 2s. That's right. So you count by 2. So it says 78. So we're going to go up to 70, put our finger there, and then we have to count the little lines by 2. So we go 70, 72, 74, 76, and 78. Are we going all the way to the 80? No, it stops before there. Are we going past that 78 line? No, we have to stop right at that line. You can't color above it. You can't color any further. You have to color right to that line. So that's going to be 78 degrees, and that's where you're coloring to. You're going to do the same thing for the next 2 problems there. You have 64 degrees, and you have 82 degrees. So take your time, but make sure you're counting by 2s when you count those tiny little lines in between the tens places there. We are now on the bottom. On number 3, it says write the sums. Can anybody tell me what sums means? Sums means that we are doing an addition problem. We are adding the problems together. And they have big, big numbers, right? No, the numbers are just vertical. So what are they doing? Well, I'm talking with my back to you, but what they're doing is they're writing the numbers vertically, which is up and down. You can write them sideways too, but pretty much our first problem is 5 plus 3, and then we have a 3. Then we have a 0, and then we have a 2, and they put a plus there. So we're finding the sum of this answer. So 5 plus 3, let's first start with that. 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, so we have 8 with these first 2 numbers. And then we have a 0. Is there anything that we add to it? No, because 0 is nothing. So it's still going to be 8, and then we add 8 plus 2, which is going to give us 10. Okay, so that's going to be a 10. So we have that answer right there. And that's going to be our answer for the first one. You literally are going to take it step by step for each of those problems right there. And that will give you your final answer at the bottom, which you can put in the box. All right, I'll give you a hint. You might see the same answer a few different times. All right, so check it out. You guys can take your time and do it slow. All right, so for our last one on page 221, it says fill in the missing numbers. So what we're doing is we're identifying the ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place. The ones place always is on the right side. So that's an O for ones place. The next one would be tens, the tens place. And then we have the hundreds. So if we're looking at 3 numbers, we're going to have letters there. I'm sorry, my marker was fading out. All right. You have the tens, the ones, and the hundreds. So the first one, we look at it. The number is 75. So let's write 75 right there. All right. Everybody see that? We're writing 75. So it asks how many are in the ones place. So we need to look at the ones. So how many are in the ones place there? We see 5. So there are 5 ones and 75. So what number goes there? 5, because you're always looking in the ones place. It's asking how many numbers or what is in the ones place. Well, there are 5 ones in this in the 5 ones in 75. Now, let's look at the number 53. That's for number 2. 53. There are blank 10s in 53. So if you write the number 53, and you know this is the ones place, that is the tens place, how many tens do we have? How many tens do we have? We have 5 tens in 53 because there's a 5 right here. So if you need to write that out, write the ones place, write the tens place, just so you know, that's what you're going to do. So we should put the number 5 in the second blank. The last 3 I want you to do. There are blank 10s in 61. And then for the big ones at the bottom, there is blank 100 and 199. There is blank 100 and 100. Really set it out and keep it separate so you know what which place you're looking at and put the correct answer in the box. All right. Now we're going to take a quick little break here before we do on page 222. I want you to look behind you, or behind me, I should say. And what you see right here are the 4 different shapes. There's a hexagon. Everybody say hexagon. There's a square. Everybody say square. There's a triangle. And then there is a trapezoid. All of these are different types of shapes that we've been talking about. A hexagon has 6 sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A square has how many sides? 4. Triangle has 3. And a trapezoid has 4 as well. Now, I want you guys to look again because we have what this word is called a parallelogram. Does everybody know what a parallelogram is? A parallelogram is a shape that has 4 sides. So if you were listening closely, I may have just given you the answer. But I want you to look behind me and tell me, which one of these would be called a parallelogram? Would a hexagon? Does that have 4 sides? No, I just mentioned it has 6 sides. So that is not a parallelogram. It's a shape, it's a geometric shape, but it's not a parallelogram. Now, does a square have 4 sides? Yes, and guess what? A square pretty much has all equal sides. Now, my square looks a little fat there, maybe a little bit more like a rectangle, but that is a parallelogram because it has 4 sides. All of them don't have to be equal, but it just has to have 4 sides to be a parallelogram. Now, let's look at a triangle. How many sides does a triangle have? It has 3. So that is not a parallelogram. But here, on the end, that is what we call a trapezoid. Does that have 4 sides? 4 sides? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are they all equal? No, it doesn't matter. There's still 4 sides. So that's just a quick little exercise to get you to recognize shapes and what a parallelogram is and looking to count all the sides, because now on page 222, you are going to need your ruler and you are going to have to measure the shapes. We have a rectangle, we have a triangle, and we have a square. And you're going to measure the shapes, all right? You're going to measure to see how long they are or if they're all equal, all right? See what the answers you come up with and measure it to actually draw the line and see if you can put the correct line back in that place, all right? There's something that's missing on each one of these shapes. We need you to fix it. All right, let's go down to number 2. It says draw the dots on the card, on the dot card, I should apologize. Draw the dots on the dot card. This is like doing a fact family for number 11. So we're looking here. It says 5 plus 6 equals 11. So if you hear the numbers, write them in the order that you hear them. All you have to do is draw the dots. So if you hear 5 plus 6, what do you have to do? You got it. 5 plus 6. Not going to tell you that because you guys should be able to do that there. Number 3, it says set the clock. Now this is going to be a pretty interesting exercise. When we're setting the clocks, we have to look at a couple of different things. We have to look at the big hand and the little hand. The little hand tells us what? The little hand tells us the hour, what time it is. The big hand tells us what the minutes are. So I'm going to show you guys how to set up a clock, and then this will be an easy way for you to figure out the time, okay? All right, so if you guys needed help, I drew a clock for you to take a look at. You have a clock, and you have right here in the center, you have your little dot. Now, the big hand again tells you the minutes. The little hand tells you the hour. So we know the time. It says it's 12:10. So what can we do with the little hand if we already know it's 12? We can put the little hand towards the 12, all right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put the little hand towards the 12. So we have it pointed to the 12. But now we know the time is 12:10. Well, if we look at these numbers right here, on the inside, they tell us the hour. But on the outside, they're going to tell us the minutes. And the minutes, we count by 5s on the clock. So let's look right here. Let's start with 5, 10, 15, 20. Wait a minute. I'm going all the way to 20, but the time said it's 12:10. So I have a 12 right here, but then what's 10? The 10 is the 2. So where do I need to put the big hand? I need to take the big hand, and I need to draw it right there, and I need to point it towards the 2. And that would give me the answer of 12:10. That is how you identify time on a clock. That is how you write the time. The little hand always goes to the what? To the hour. And the big hand always goes to the minutes. Do not forget that. And then on the outside, if you need to, right now, if you need to, every time, draw a clock. And then make sure you put the 5s and the 10 to 15, count by 5s all the way around so that you know exactly what the minutes are. And don't get confused. Because what I don't want you to do, the time is 12:10, and we just put that there. But I don't want you to put something like this, 12:2. You see that? Because that's going to be marked wrong. It's going to be 12:10, not 12:2. All right. Last but not least, you're doing this and you've done this before. It says draw the sticks to show the combinations and then write the sums. The sum is the answer for an addition problem. So if you see 4 plus 7, how many 6 are you going to write next to 4? 4. And how many 6 are you going to write next to 7? 7. And then what are you going to do when you have those together? You're going to add them up together. If you need a number line to help you with that, draw your number line. You can draw all the way up to 10. You can draw all the way up to 20. But I'm going to give you another hint too. When you're looking at this is going to be the fact family of 11. So you may have a similar answer in each problem, all right? It's going to be really cool. You guys are having fun with this, and you'll notice something at the end when you finish all the answers, okay? Tell me if there's something similar that you notice. Last but not least, on number 5, these are measurements. And you have to recall these. We've done this before, but you're going to write the answers to what a yard is, to what 1 gallon is, to what 1 hour is, and to what 1 year is. If you need to know how many months are in a year, you can just start saying them out. January, February, March, April, May. If you don't want to count them out, write them out. That'll give you a nice little practice time to try to spell something and spell the words and see how many months there are in a year if you don't know. If you don't know how many minutes are in an hour, look at your clock. Remember, you counted by 5s all the way around. And then 1 gallon, we were just doing this a couple of weeks ago, and you guys did pretty good on the test, so you know how many quarts are in there, how many cups. If you need some review, let me know. I'll get some worksheets to you so that you guys can have some help with that, all right? And then the yard and the feet, the same thing with that. I have more worksheets for you, more updates to help you review that if you need some help. But I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Any questions, you know what to do. You can ask me or rewind the tape in the video. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.